Sunde over there. Are we good to go? We sure are. Henk Vogels, I'll pass over to you. 3, 2, 1. Roll out. Off we go, Eather and
Let's get ready to make some magic.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome to the round 3 point score series for 2025. You're joined by myself, Mr. Alexis Kaless, and of course, the ever reliable, ever faithful Mr. John Sunde. Good evening, John. Welcome back for another spectacular round. The weather was beautiful. The racing was perfect. It was incident free. All the spectators, all the heroes of the past were there. You were there. Tell us all, how did you feel after Tuesday night?
Hey, well, very excited, Alexi, and it's just the two of us tonight because our co-partner, co-host, Vaughan, is on his charity ride. But
He's
lovely
still
night.
pedaling away, isn't he?
Yeah.
Now let's get this right. The mental health ride
right toward resilience.
That's right. And of course, you'll see the link just down below you there. You can still support Vaughan. Every dollar counts. But for this week that he's on the 1,700 kilometers, it's all about raising awareness for the challenges. And we wish Vaughan the luck for his remaining days. I mean, I suppose he doesn't really need luck. He's just there pushing it and doing an amazing job. And Paul is unfortunately unable to join us with school commitments. So it's just, John and I shooting the breeze and talking about the wonderful days.
Talking about the good old
Tuesday.
days. Well, it was a bit of good old days for me. So I had my first race on Tuesday night. I was very excited about that.
And it was a wonderful start because everyone will love to know that John couldn't even get it into the big chain ring.
That's right. I had a bit of difficulty at the start.
I mean, took the classic John Sunde half lap out in the first lap. I mean,
first half lap.
First half lap, you got it going, but then you're racing. It was great to have you back in there. How'd you feel?
No, great feeling, actually. You don't realise how much you miss it. And I was questioned by my wife the week earlier, but she didn't ask me this week, so I didn't have to tell any little fibbies. And felt great. Went home with a big smile on my face. And it was just nice to be rolling around. It was a lovely night, like you said. Sun was shining. Light sort of north, predominantly easterly wind, which is pretty, still quite stiff. And what impressed me was just how well oiled Seagrade were in those opening laps. They got a bit of an advantage and kind of held it right to the closing 5 laps. Were the last to get caught.
They were the last to get caught, but of course, in the end, the glory went to Mr. Kurt Eather, who once again was the fastest man ahead of Scott Law and a resurgent Tom Bolton. I think that's his first time on the podium for a little bit.
Tommy B back in the winner circle, and he just nipped Willie Heff on the line. Rode home with Willie. Willie wasn't very happy. He thought he had third, and he said, I should have stayed in the gutter. I should have stayed in the gutter. I just moved down a little bit. And when I did, Tommy Bolton chopped underneath me. Well, Willie, you got to be awake to that going on.
Exactly, and we also shows the experience of Tom Bolton. He knew the race wasn't over until they'd crossed the line. But going back to what you'd said earlier, it was a night for Seagrade, who seemed to be rolling like a very well-oiled machine. I suppose in the last 2 weeks they've been aided by having Luke Cruikshank, who's come down from B grade, who's now racing C. He's done a pretty impressive job of marshalling the troops. He's pretty vocal. And even this week, they were honoured to have the new East president, Mr. Greg Rule, also stepping into the C-grade pedals.
It was a good feeling because there's Greg Rule and I were the only two soldiers that are still standing from that very first race 40 years ago.
So what about Gino? Where does he sit in? Has he only he's of a similar vintage?
Gino's only in the last. He was too busy being a triathlete back in those days.
Right.
Yeah, so off the top of my head, I'm thinking Gino 15, 20 years.
Yep.
Nothing. He just looks older, that's all.
He does. So they were superb. They were basically working the whole time. Everyone was thinking, and I don't think the catch was made by a separate B grade, was it? A had already caught B.
Yeah, A caught B grade. I think I'm thinking that was about 4 or 3 to go. And then, C-grade, driven by some of the younger riders, Ruben Shepherd once again, doing a lot of work, maybe too much work, Ruben. Tried to explain to Ruben the other day, you've got so many bickies in your biscuit tin. Save it to when it counts.
And then now while the bunch was caught, there was a couple of riders from C grade who decided to go solo. I think with about 2 laps. So that was Ruben, one of those riders.
Yeah, Ruben. It was
And
Ruben.
then
Oh, great
Luke
ride by
Cromer
Liam Denver.
and Liam
Oh,
Denver. Right.
buried himself. Absolutely buried himself. So very impressed with his ride.
I was also very impressed by Luke Cromer's ride at the end there. While he didn't manage to hang on for the win, that was Anthony Challenor in C grade. As Luke Cromer said to me afterwards, he said he did turns on the front when he had to. He stayed on the front when he had to. And then he went off the front, couldn't hold it, but was still able to come in for the sprint and do it
that's
all.
pretty
So
good.
he said, what more do I have to do in this race? And he
To
just
win the
wants the
chicken burger.
world to know that he wanted the podcast to know he was putting in on Tuesday night. He wants
Certainly
that respect. And so I think that night it was a well-deserved attack. And look, they run unfortunate to be caught, but Anthony Challenor did a very good job hanging with when they were.
Hey, so impressive. So there was a front group of 14 riders. So that was an unusual finale, wasn't it? Where a group of 14 riders get off the front. And it wasn't just a few seconds. It was in the entire, on the finish line, it was the entire length of the straight that those group of riders were away. And Ant-Man was the only C grader in that group, along with 2 B graders, Ray Shockere and Luca Zuccardi. So of that 14 riders, all of them were A graders except those 3 riders. And Ant-Man just finished behind them because a couple of the A graders sat up just before the straight and he lost the wheel. But great ride by Ant-Man. Super, super impressive.
I was there in the finish, but I couldn't really move up. It was quite hard. As soon as you pull out into the wind, you're basically going nowhere. So I just sat on and tried to win B grade, and that was all I could do.
No, look, first B grade, a fantastic result. And tell me about those last couple of laps. We expected to see a few surges, but it looked like Edwin Ritz was trying to keep everything together. How fast did it feel in the bunch there?
The third last and second last lap felt very fast, and then as we got into the last lap, everyone kind of sat up, half a lap to go, and there was a massive lull in the bunch, and after that it got hard again, and then there was a sprint.
No, well done. I think you're one of very few B grade.
And then in B grade, look, they're riding well, but they seem to be that little bit, they've lost a little bit of that impetus. Do you think it's the riders going up to A? So in other words, we obviously,
Well, only lost one.
Only lost one. Okay, well, that kills that conversation.
Speaking of,
so what's going wrong there? I mean, why a B grade? Is it
I thought B grade was B grade most probably a little bit disjointed. Couple of soldiers down there after the incident last week. A couple of the guys didn't race that you would normally see there. A little bit fragmented. If you look at the names, Ray and Luca were in that front group, so they got first and second, and so well done, Ray, on winning B grade outright. And then there's that big gap coming down the straight to the next bunch that came in, which was the remnants of B grade and C grade. And who should win that? Well, if you call it winning that, but cross the line first in that group, Scotty Carver in the points again.
2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, and then followed by Josh Dunford, Michael Bolt, another good ride by Joel Zerb, Niall, Tommy Hyde, Anna McCoy, Robbie Allen. So, all these riders are sort of riding in ones and twos. I think that perhaps they just didn't have the dominance of the Centennial Park guys to hold it all together. But I still thought that B grade road pretty strong race.
Although I wonder if it was almost the dominance of Centennial Park in the early season has now almost put too much pressure on them as a unit So in these weeks now, too many people are going, well, look, if they're not going to be riding as a unit and controlling it, because, there were those weeks where you had Coach Chops, Tommy Hyde, Neil Percival, like they were just controlling that race week in, week out.
Chris Simpson,
And
when he was in B grade,
yeah.
Benny Glastonbury, D, and obviously Diego didn't ride on Tuesday either. But I was also going to point out that the finish in B grade, you can see it in the point score. So we've got 3 separate winners in B grade in 3 races. And in fact, 4 riders on 3 points each. So there's no clear dominant ride yet. Lucas also on 3. He's picked up that from a second placing and a third placing. So yeah, you can always tell by the number of the individual winners that have won separate races.
But you also think, like, when you hear, our statistician often talking about how some of the riders are deciding to hang at the back, save themselves for the final couple of laps. I wonder whether the Hydra Play, the Centennial Park, some of those other groups are now too busy thinking about how we're actually going to win the race, rather than actually making sure they're getting to that position to actually allow them to win the overall now. Like there's too much thinking about, in those last couple of laps, I've got to be ready for the sprint, as opposed to, well, if we're not there,
hey, my advice
we're not going with Bolty, with Michael Bolt.
Take a leaf out of Luke Cromer's playbook. Just try everything. Take a leaf out. Take a leaf out of Liam Galtman's playbook from last week. Just attack, go, get on, get in, sit in, and have another go. Just race.
And so when you talk about just racing, the big one, and look, there's concern. I mean, I wonder what they're talking about around the dinner table, but Jack Bennett,
Oh, Jack, yeah. So yeah, he's still in there.
Results, is he seeing that grasp that he has on the Pointscore series starting to slip away? I think Grant Bennett has got to be down there next Tuesday night. Like, I don't know what he's doing. He's retired. He's got all the time in the world. Like, get that caravan. He'll probably, I'm driving around a caravan. I'm in the middle of,
Actually, I think Grant is back next week. He said he was coming back in February.
Where's he been?
But yeah, Jack was in the sick bay on Monday and Tuesday, so we missed him.
To be sick when it comes to Tuesday night, because he's now
you can't be sick on a Tuesday. You can't be anything on a Tuesday but be at Heffron Park. Speaking of which, guess who was at Heffron Park on Tuesday night? Someone we hadn't seen at Heffron Park for, I'm thinking, 25 years.
That's right. And we're not saying Paul Craft.
We are definitely not saying. We're not talking about Frank Consacao either. So
we are talking about a rider who, and now I must admit, look, I'm no Paul Craft with my encyclopedic knowledge when it comes to riders out Palmares, but we had a rider who's ridden the Tour de France. He's ridden Paris-Roubaix.
And the Vuelta.
He's ridden Giro, the Vuelta, Paris-Roubaix, Tour of Flanders, pretty much all the one-day classics. And then he was there. I thought he was there to drop me a new factor bike. Like, I assumed he must have left it, someone else just only. Yeah. But who was it there on the sidelines, John?
Henk Vogels, 1988 Olympian, and rode for, Garn. I remember that he rode for Credit Agricole. In fact, there's that iconic photo, I think, in his Credit Agricole team kit in Paris-Roubaix. He's got mud all over his face, and sitting on his wheel is Andre Schmiel, who won Roubaix one year. So, Henk came up, Henk's and his father, Henk Senior, iconic names in Australian cycling circles, originally from Perth. He now lives up in Queensland, and of course he works for Factor Bikes, and he was in Sydney on a business trip and rode down on Tuesday night on his Factor Bike. There's a plug, Henk, and hadn't been there in 25 years and got there and remembered every bit of it.
And the good thing was that surely when you say I'm on a business trip, that is Heffron on a Tuesday night. Because for me, that's my main board meeting of the week. But yeah, it was wonderful having him, and because he's been such a great supporter of cycling for so many years. I know he's helped some of the NRS teams. He's obviously now involved in Factor, but still there supporting local cycling. I just couldn't believe it when he said, "Oh yeah, I don't have a bike license anymore. I can't race." I think the reality was he knew the pressure of Heffron Park. He knew the Tuesday night. He's raced Paris-Roubaix, so he knows what it's like to be on that start line on a Tuesday night.
Everything's Paris-Roubaix is easier. Hey, he mentioned something very interesting when he was being interviewed by Crafty, and that because as we know that Henk was a big player behind the scenes in getting the ARA Skip Capital Development
That's
Team
the one.
going, and he was saying that this guy hasn't been Heffron in 25 years. Said that we're one of the very few races nationally that post results. We take this stuff for granted. And I said, hey, Henk, what are you talking about? Not only do we post the results, we post a video across the finish line. We publish the full list of finishes, and we have a podcast. So I think our viewership's most probably gone up by one this week.
Oh, there
Well,
you
better
go.
have.
And of course, with the ARA, I think young Benny Coates, a regular Chargrill Charlie's Rider of the Week, he's racing for them this year. And
He
I
certainly
also
is.
think Kira Wills,
Yes, Kira.
if she's not this year, has previously raced
Yeah,
under the banner.
she's yeah.
Again, another
with
point score champion.
well,
So-
you know what they say, Alexis. You win at Heffron.
I didn't get a chance. So Henk, has he won at Heffron? He's obviously raced it.
Yeah, well, I
Like, we've
don't
got
think
a
he has
photo here.
actually.
You think he has?
I don't know. I don't think he has. I'd have
Yeah.
to sort of
And
trail
that's
back
probably
through
why he
some
didn't
of
win Paris-Roubaix, because he hadn't won at Heffron.
there
So
you
he
go.
was there and he
Look-
just he
Yeah,
froze
look
up.
at Cav. Look where Cav went with his career.
Yeah.
Well,
A
that
man
wasn't
who's
my fault. He was not very happy, I can tell you. It was a headwind sprint, so they moved the photographers to about 35, 40 metres after the finish line. We were doing 50. And I had a throw at the final and leaned on him a little bit, and then, he flipped over. So he was a young Tomica and such a good sport. He could have held that against me for the rest of his career, but we ended up being good mates because he's such a good bloke.
a man who certainly does know, I mean, probably not always winning, but on the podium. You were mentioning the B grade results, but you missed who came second on Tuesday night, back after a 1 week hiatus. Luca Zaccardi back on the podium in B grade.
Well,
He
I'm
got second on the night.
very, very relieved that the DNF in the results last week was a one-off, and he's resurrected his race record for the season of never finishing off the podium. I saw his parents on the sideline, and I just had to go and check and say, geez, I hope you guys had some food on the table last week. We were all a bit worried.
Absolutely.
Good ride by Luca. It just goes to show how much he has grown in strength and confidence in the space of the last 2 or 3 months. First race ever back in October in C grade, does well, moves to B grade, and then on Tuesday night, not only does he get second overall behind Ray, but he finishes in that front group of A graders. And to be able to step up and race the closing laps with those guys is hats off, Luca. Well done, buddy.
That's right. I think most people in Sydney were relieved with the interest rate cut on Tuesday, but the rest of us, we were more just relieved that he was back on the podium, because we're like, normalcy is back has arrived again. And then what was your take of the Kurt Eather, Scott Law, Tom Bolton battle at the finish there? What were you thinking?
Well, that was interesting. So Crafty was up on the hill, and he was calling that and saying that Kurt Eather was a long way back. And I thought, oh God, this is going to be Scotty's chance. Or I was thinking, Willie Heff. I had some money on Willie, not money, but I thought he would do well.
You had some prize money on him. You knew they were going to get to the pub, and
and Crafty was calling that. Kurt was a long way out of position. He's 10 wheels back. He's not going to have a chance tonight. And I'm thinking, oh my God, okay, maybe Kurt stuffed this. And then by the time they crossed the line, I thought, well, why was I even thinking that? Why was I even listening to Crafty? That there's no way that, Kurt's going to not win in a select group like that at Heffron. And he did. But, I'll tell you what, Scotty was there all the way. I think Scotty let it out from memory.
I think we've got some other post-race videos, which we'll post up, which might give us a better view. It did make me think, though, maybe the reason, once again, I wasn't on the podium is because I seem to be the only one of the very few riders not riding around with aero socks on.
You don't race in aero socks?
I don't race in aero socks.
Oh my God, Alexi.
And even John, who couldn't put it in the big chain ring, had his
Oh.
aero socks on Tuesday night.
That's
So-
right. See, it didn't matter that I couldn't because
Are
I had
you-
the aero socks on.
Exactly.
But
Are
I've
you
got aero
feeling the
everything.
difference?
I've even got an aero hairstyle.
That's it. It just seems that every single A, B, C, everyone's got the aero socks. I was looking on shifts and I was just like, I've obviously missed the memo. So
Yeah, well, it's okay.
I'll flick it online to
I
Capo
can talk to
Cycling.
you privately after.
Yeah.
I know someone who sells socks. So
Hopefully they've got a nice color range for us. So yeah, when we look back then at Tuesday night at the overall podiums, we have in first place, so for A grade, we'll just go through, was Kurt Eather in first, Scotty Law in second, and Tom Bolton in third. Actually, just trying to look back. That doesn't, is that right? Where was, on the results you've posted, you haven't got Jack Bennett finishing.
No,
Is that
Jack
right?
Bennett didn't race. He wasn't there.
He didn't, oh, well, that's why he sent me points down. Well, there you go. I thought he was. Well, I don't know why I was thinking he got fourth or something. There you go. Sick. I mean,
No Jack at dinner, no Jack at the race.
Jeepers. Okay, so he went down to fourth to Willie Heffron. We'll get better, Jack. Fifth, Benny Coates.
Yeah, nice ride, Benny.
You could basically throw a blanket over those
battle
guys.
actually in the video, in the finish line video, for that last spot, all those last points between Dan Bonello and Benny Coates. With Benny just edging Bonbon.
Yeah. And then B grade, first place, Ray Choquet, a great ride. First, I think he was 11th or 12th, I think, over the line at all. So first, B grader, Luca Zuccati, of course, was in second, and Scotty Carver carved them up and finished third. C grade, Anthony Chalinor was first, ahead of a hard and well-deserved ride from Luke Cromer, and third place, Kun Ponsac. Seragion continues his fantastic form, which then leads us to what was a fascinating women's race.
Very fascinating.
Talk about tactics, and this will, I'm sure, will change how women's racing is done in the following weeks. But in first place on Tuesday night was Nicole Wilson, ahead of Nicole O, and then was it Lily Fasan, I believe? I think
other way around. I think it was
Lily
Nicole.
was.
Yeah. So the dynamic of the race was that C grade were caught last by the chasing front group of A grade. But of course, in that front group were Lily and Nicole Wilson. So Nicole O, let's say, was somewhat disadvantaged because she was behind the A grade group with the other B graders.
Oh, we never got that wrong, Ben. We missed Nicole Wilson. And the reason is, when the A graders came through the B graders, they put them to the back. When they came through the C graders, they were already tired, and the C graders managed to follow some wheels. It was difficult. There was a big split though.
Yeah, there was kind of two bunches. I could see Lily was there. I wasn't sure where Nicolo was, but Millsy had dropped back to lead Lily out, so I was just kind of watching, and it was a good sprint. So happy to take a win at Heffron.
Interesting. I'm just looking at the point score. Just touch on that for a minute.
Yes.
If you look at the grade points, A grade leader Scott Law's got 7. The highest points in B grade are only 3. C grade highest points are 6 with Pongsac, and Nicole Wilson 5. So B grade is like very flat in terms. No one has managed to get their nose in front, whereas the other grades, Pongsac is the man to chase. Nicole Wilson is now the woman to chase in the women's comp, and Scotty Law and Kurt Eather, I guess, to a lesser extent.
Nicole Wilson will be taking that jersey that Nicole O is wearing in the background there. But Nicole Wilson, I mean, she showed it the previous week when she went toe to toe with Nicole O on that finishing line. But her sprint on Tuesday night, again, electric. Like she just. I don't know where she pulled from the end of the 6 laps. Last lap, she absolutely railed it.
I really admire Nicole Wilson. Her training regime is so impressive. I mean, I see a lot of Nicole in the park. I'm usually sitting at the cafe waving to her as she's doing efforts. And I always think, maybe I should train that hard. And clearly, there's some sort of truth in that. Training that hard.
I'll join you. I should be doing that. I mean, I won't. But I'm
sure
it does some good benefit. She was ahead of a Lily Fasan, one of the attacker gutter rats, who was also assisted by Brad Mills. I see was not kind enough. Was it kind enough to? He obviously didn't feel.
Well, he was on his gravel bike.
He was racing A grade on a gravel bike. Dead
Yeah,
set. Jeez.
I know. Well,
How good? How strong is that bloke?
he had race tires on. He didn't have the gravel tires
Oh, okay.
on. So
I know because I saw he was pretty bandaged up from the previous week,
yeah,
so he wasn't
still
100%.
Yeah,
So he was being a good teammate, dropped back and to help Lily and guide her through those final laps. Does that mean we now are going to see Cam Fraser dropping back and kind of he'll be racing C grade as well? All of a sudden, next final weeks we might have Brad Mills might be helping Lily. He'll be sitting in C grade. Cam Fraser he'll be racing C grade as well. All these riders will be there helping their various foe.
I'm more worried about who's going to help me.
Well, exactly. So look, I thought the way that those two, Lily as well, but just Nicole Wilson's kick down the finish, super impressive. And so when we talk about impressive rides, it leads to
here it is. Here's the big moment.
The big Chargrill Charlie's rider of the week. With Tovas as well, it's almost like we'll have to just come to a consensus. I don't know. Who is it? Actually,
I had a bit of a think about this. I'm just going to put it out there. And like we said last week, you're looking for the unexpected. Nice ride by Kurt and Scotty Law, but we expect that.
Yes.
Ray,
Willie Heff, did he have a bit of a dig with a couple of to go?
Who? Sorry,
Willie Heff.
Willie did. And then I think he carted, I know he carted Kurt up in that last when he was after he was panicking about him being 10th wheel. So Willie put in a big one. Good teammate performance there, Willie. Nice ride by Ray and Luca, once again, to be in that front group. But the person that impressed me most of all and gets my Chargrill Charlie Chicken Award of the week is Anthony Challoner. Hey, back racing for the first time in, I don't know, 10 years, busy in bicycle shop retail land. His son Harvey now, of course, is racing, so it's prompted Ant-Man to come out of hibernation. And, I know from his own tales that when he first started, just settling back into C grade. And in the space of, in the space of the season so far, he's gone from his first race to being in the mix on the finale with A grade and winning C grade by a country mile, because it was a long way back to Luke and Pongsack. So,
I just wish, though,
who's your pick?
I just wish he'd get a better looking jersey.
Careful.
I know he's probably doing to stand out, but it looks terrible. And so my only wish was if he does get voted Chargrill Charlie's Rider of the Week, he maybe thinks about changing that jersey.
Well, that's pretty harsh.
I know.
When he designed that, and I know the people that made it for him, we thought it was good. But having said that,
it was good back in 1994.
Look out for his new skin suit coming soon.
Oh, good. Well, that I will look forward to, because it's got to be an upgrade. I just want to also make a shout out to Gwyn Elvelyn. He finished, but he's certainly moving up in A grade. Obviously not really moving up. Everyone knows he's a quality rider, but I just feel like every week he probably misses getting those shout outs. I just don't want to acknowledge the good work that he does. I'd agree with you there with the Ray, Josh Dunford of East as well. He finished fourth.
Another big ride by Josh, backed up a strong ride last week.
Which is interesting, because when I was looking back at B grades, kind of slightly going off, I look at the names who finished further down the field: Adam McCoy, Robbie Allen.
They're all good riders. 10th,
all good riders, but they're not back. They've got to get back up there. Look, C grade, I think you're right. I would have voted for Luke Cromer, but I will get more personal satisfaction not giving it to him, because I know how angry it'll make him. And he'll be there. He'll be ranting in his house. Oh, they should have given it. But look, we'll respect the right I'll give him, but just out of principle, I'm not going to let him get Chargrill Charlie's Rider of the Week. Instead, I will go with Anthony Challoner. His ability to be in that split, which meant he was far enough up.
He knew how to read it.
And then he was able to hold it, because a lot of people couldn't. We know a lot of big guys couldn't close it down and they couldn't hold it on. So I think I'll go with you there. Anthony Challoner, get some respect back in that household. Show that you're better than your young son.
Pressure's
because
on,
you
Harvey.
are Chargrill Charlie's rider of the week. So
Yeah.
well
Yeah.
done.
And Harvey, it's not for you. You know, when the chicken basket hits the table, that's not for you. It's for your dad. Okay.
For your dad. Um, just I don't know why they got it's now completely something else different. I'm looking down at though the way your chain couldn't get it on. I've got to do a shout out to one of our long-time listeners, but a non-real racer of Heffron, but I'm sure he's done it back in the day. Shawnee Vale down at Bike Addiction. Now, if you're looking for a mechanic, John, he could be one you could be looking to because he does all the world champs. Roger Carl, they're all there, all the old schoolers, 40 years of experience. And I know he's always got his
Actually, we
on.
miss Sean. We miss Sean. We miss Sean and Roger Shackleton.
Yes,
Now,
Big Rog.
they were the days when Roger and Sean and Dave Watkinson used to ride down every Tuesday night, ride back to Manly.
The good thing is, Rog, I think he must be in his 70s. He's still riding an e-bike, though. He still gets out, rides the trails on an e-bike, but that's right. Those of you will remember old Rog there, still racing around in C grade. So a shout out to those guys because I know they still do put this on during the day. That's probably a bit of a Spurge's last lap moment, actually, that we've kind of moved into. But if we just go to the point score before we do the last lap, Scotty Law is now leading the series on 17 points. Kurt Eather's on 14. Jack Bennett's in third on 5th. The same
Equal
number
with
of
Ollie.
points as Ollie Penny.
Hmm.
17 and 5. How many rounds have we got left, John?
We've got 5 left, so there's
5 left. So
7 plus left.
mathematically, he can. Those Ollie and Jack can still win the point score series.
Yeah.
Oof, it's going to be tough.
And I think Kurt might be away. I know he's got Tour of Tassie this weekend, but I understand he's back on Tuesday. But I think he's got Taiwan coming up, so there's a chance. So Big Ray Jersey, by the way, is going to go most probably to Ray Shocker.
That's right. So let's look at that. We've got 4 riders on 3 points, and then 3 riders on 2 points. So you've got Luke Schofield, Liam Galtman, Luca Zaccardi, and Ray Shocker all on 3 points. Then you've got Riyadh, who's now gone up to A.
A grade. Another good ride by Riyadh in A grade too.
On 2, and Scotty Carver on 2. So what you're saying is Scotty Carver he's now one of the favourites to win.
He
grade.
is, but
with 4 riders on 3 points, Liam Galtman's obviously gone up to A, so he won't be wearing the jersey. That leaves you Luke Schofield, Luca, and Ray to wear the jersey.
Well, Luca hasn't. So Ray and Luke and Liam, Ray and Luke Schofield have both got their 3 points from outright wins. And we've only seen Luke once, and he's not a frequent attendee. He comes having said that, Luke and Jaden most probably turn up next Tuesday. But I would give the jersey next week to Ray. Since
not
he's
the people's champion of Luca. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Well, he's the only outright winner that's going to be on the start list, more than likely.
Scotty Law will be wearing the all-white series leader, or sorry, that must be the
green. Scotty Law wears the white and green, and
so then Kurt Eather wears the
A
grade.
Well, because Scotty Law has already got the overall, and then in C grade, Pongsak 6 points. He's just been picking up a point here, picking up a point there, and that's all you need to do.
That's all. So he'll be wearing, as you can see there, in the series.
But hot on his heels are Luke Croner and Ant-Man
on 5 and 4. So not much splitting them there. Those 3, I think, will be the 3 deciding. I think they're the 3 standouts in C grade. So I think they will be fighting it out amongst themselves.
And then we've got the 2 Nicoles.
And then the women's race, Nicole Wilson's on 5, Nicole O on 4, Kira Will on 3, Emma Jeffcoat on 2, Lily Fassan on 2, Lucy Allen on 1. So really, all the play for there, but all the pressure now moves to Nicole Wilson, who she may be it's remiss of me not to know, but has she won the series before, the women's point score?
No, Kira, I'd have to check. I'd have to check the database.
But otherwise, the pressure is all on her. I can see John now going back through the history books. But yeah, Nicole Wilson is now our series leader. That jersey will be pulled off Nicole Wilson with the lovely purple stripe. onto Nicole.
Yeah.
And then we'll
Off
see
Nicole
how that
O
plays
onto
out.
Nicole Wilson. Yeah.
So next week, round 4, halfway through the season.
Yeah, weather's looking good. No excuses there. A bunch of entries are open, which I guess leads us to Spurgeon's last lap.
That's
and
right.
the
Ding-a-ling.
most.
And with that, I suppose we also, again, just shout out Vaughan doing his thing.
Oh, mate, he's on his way riding down to Tasmania. Take a couple of weeks. We rolled out with him from Heffron, actually, Saturday morning, down to Milton, 220 Ks for day one. But yeah, raising for his charity, Mental Health Awareness, and the Mental Health Foundation.
Well, big shout out to Vaughan McBilly. Ride well, ride strong.
He'll be back on board. I hope Richard, actually, that's a good point. This week we didn't.
Yeah, Richard's back next week.
He's back.
And thank you to Pry for stepping into Rich Scriven's big shoes on Tuesday night.
That is a pressure I wouldn't want to be. It's not a role I'd want to be filling. Like,
No, lovely photos, Pry. Thank you very much.
so they're all up. On
And also shout out to Stu Baker for coming down. It was Stu that came up with that old photo of Henk racing at Heffron 25 years ago that he posted in one of his Instagram posts this week. So always good to see Big Stu down there because Stu used to race regularly. That was a while ago, but now is the man behind the lens, and a great lens he peers through too.
That's right. So this week within the podcast, but also up on our Facebook page, are the photos from, I think, now let me get his correctly right. It's PH Images, but there is
Pry.
That's right, Pry. So it's P_H_Images. Obviously, it'll be up throughout our page as well. So thank you so much to Pry there for providing the images while I believe Richard was off in Cambodia living his most best and wonderful life. I think besides that, get your entries in for another wonderful night of Tuesday. Get your aero socks. Head on to Capo Cycling there.
Well, that's a good idea. Yeah, not too many orders at once.
Not too many. Don't make his life too busy. He doesn't want
very
to.
Busy.
Don't rush. He's very, very busy man. And with that, we thank you all. We look forward to Tuesday night. And until then,
see you next Tuesday.
Tuesday.